Hello, I'm Lucy Hockings. Welcome to BBC News Now. We start this hour with the latest developments in the war in Ukraine, as Kyiv says Russian forces are preparing for a major summer offensive. It has been a brutal couple of weeks in Ukraine, with hundreds of missile and drone strikes across the country. Just to give you an idea, overnight, Russia attacked 8 regions. President Zelensky saying Russia used 524 attack drones and 22 missiles, both ballistic and cruise missiles, in Dnipro alone. 26 people were injured in the region, with Russian strikes hitting residential and public buildings, cars and business. Meanwhile, President Zelensky has also been defending a massive drone attack on Russia, saying it was entirely justified. At least 4 people were killed and Moscow's main oil refinery was hit. Russia says it intercepted nearly 600 drones. Our defence correspondent Jonathan Beale is in Kyiv at the moment, and he updated us on the current status of the conflict.
It's been a brutal winter for Ukraine, but I think there is some sense of at least optimism here in Kyiv amongst certainly diplomats, but also the military who I've spoken to, who see some signs to be positive, such as, for example, if you look at how much territory Russia took last year, advancing about 9 kilometers a day. Now it's advancing just over 2 kilometers a day. Last month, Ukraine took back more territory than it lost to Russia, about 100 square kilometers, mostly in the Zaporizhia region. And also, if you look at the casualty figures, so this has been happening over a period of months, but Ukraine is inflicting heavy casualties for those advances on Russia, about 35,000 Russian casualties, that's killed and wounded, a month. And that is close to the figure that Russia is recruiting to replace those soldiers every month. So Ukraine's goal is to increase that figure to 50,000. So there are some positive signs on the battlefield, but no doubt about it, Russia is still committed to this war. President Putin clearly still wants the entire east of the country, which has long been his goal. And it's too early to say whether this is just a change in fortune that will last, or whether, once again, Russia will invest more heavily over the summer months and make it cost a lot more for Ukraine too.
Well, Moscow's troops are already approaching the outskirts of another strategically important city in the east of Ukraine, Kostyantynivka. Defending this area is becoming even more challenging as drones are transforming how the war is fought. It is forcing soldiers to stay in position, sometimes for months. Abdul-Jalil Abdulrazilov spoke to Ukrainian infantrymen living inside what they call the kill zone.
This is one of the most dangerous places in eastern Ukraine now, the city of Kostyantynivka. Kamikaze drones hunt down anything that moves here. The area within the range of these flying machines is called the kill zone. Kenya, an infantryman from the 93rd Brigade, has just come out from the front line. He and his teammates spent 225 days inside the kill zone.
Commanders tried to change us several times, but each time our replacement failed to reach us because of drones. In the end, fog helped the incoming team, and we were swapped.
Gone are the battles where columns of tanks charge enemy positions. In the age of drones, speed is more important than armor. Soldiers eat, sleep and fight in tiny trenches like this. They call it a foxhole and rarely leave it. They even use a plastic bottle to urinate, since it's too dangerous to go outside. Hani spent 122 days at the front line. He barely survived when Russian forces discovered his position.
First, they dropped explosives and sent kamikaze drones. Then 2 assault troopers tried to go into the basement where we stayed. They threw grenades and blew up an anti-tank mine that destroyed the entrance.
This is how Hani's team received supplies.
There was constantly a shortage of water and food. Drones that delivered supplies would often get destroyed before they could reach us. In winter, it was extremely cold.
This was one of the harshest winters in Ukraine for many years. How did you survive it?
Some of us survived, some didn't. My comrade got very ill, and one day he didn't wake up. He died from hypothermia.
These Ukrainian infantrymen remain at their positions despite all odds. And while most fighting is done by drones today, it is the foot soldiers who hold territory. Abdujalil Abdurasulov, BBC News, Eastern Ukraine.
Very vivid account there of what it's like for those soldiers on the front line, but what's happening with diplomacy in terms of any moves to try and bring an end to the conflict. I asked that question to Jonathan Beale.
America tried to essentially force Ukraine to sign some kind of peace agreement, and they're still looking for reassurances. So we did see a Ukrainian senior official, former Defense Minister Umerov, going to Miami to meet with Steve Witkoff. That was just before Ukraine and Russia agreed an American-brokered ceasefire, which was timed to coincide so President Putin could hold his Victory Day, May Day parade in Red Square. And then President Zelensky said he would allow President Putin to have that parade. So there is clearly still US engagement. But I was talking to, a number of Western diplomats here who have said that the faith in the Americans has clearly been dented because of their failures, their efforts at the moment to try to achieve a peace in the Middle East have not worked so far. So I think it's true to say that Ukraine is looking more to Europe, but it still needs America. And certainly you do not hear any language from President Zelensky, which is designed to cause offense in Washington. They know President Trump is very important in terms of providing security guarantees if there is going to be a long-term peace. But I think their confidence in whether certainly Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner can broker a peace deal, and one that is fair, one that Ukraine would find acceptable. I think that confidence has been dented because of what they've seen in the Middle East.